Most people assume a funeral home goes completely dormant after dark. We lock the doors, turn down the lights, and leave the heavy, stagnant air of grief hanging over the empty chairs. But that silence is deceptive. The exact moment the heavy front doors click shut behind the final guest, the evening shift begins. Entomologists and folklore experts suggest these entities hitch a ride inside folded sympathy cards to breach the building. Within seconds of that last human footstep fading, hundreds of tiny, highly specialized workers spill out into the aisles to begin their meticulous labor. The parlor transforms into an intense staging ground, a complex ecosystem vibrating with the energy of a workforce preparing to process the weight of the previous day. The first task falls to the handkerchief fairies. They scour the carpets and upholstery, meticulously collecting every tear dropped over the past 12 hours. These entities don't feed on sorrow. They function as archivists, prioritizing the preservation of emotional data over the sadness of its origin. Each raw tear is polished and compressed until it crystallizes into a solid pearl of remembrance. The older the memory, the brighter the pearl. Once the tears are secured, the flower straighteners take over the floral arrangements. This is a job demanding absolute geometric precision. If a bouquet is propped up too stiffly, it feels rigidly formal. If it slumps a fraction of an inch too far, the entire room feels defeated. These specialists spend hours arguing over a single daisy to achieve the exact angle of comfortably hopeful. This aggressive management of the room's physical remnants recalibrates its emotional frequency, ensuring the air feels distinctly lighter for tomorrow's mourners. Over by the display boards, the photo polish pixies execute their own subtle curation. They spend the night gently buffing fingerprints and smudges from the family portraits. They never alter the photograph itself. They simply manipulate the paper's sheen to enhance a specific focal point, usually a smile, making it impossible to miss. Then there are the candle keepers, the hidden architects behind those sudden, seemingly supernatural phenomena we often experience during a service. When a flame unexpectedly flickers in a perfectly still room, it is a manufactured anomaly. They create these tiny disruptions to offer grieving families a fleeting, comforting moment of mystery. Of course, not all the curation is so profound. The bow tie goblins spend the night actively interfering, misplacing the funeral director's glasses or scattering pens, driven by nothing more than chaotic tradition. These environmental manipulations serve a unified purpose. They force the living to break their relentless loop of grief, pause for a second, and find a small measure of comfort in the inexplicable. To understand the most complex level of this ecosystem, we have to look beneath the visible chapel floor. This animated diagram shows a cross-section of the building, tracing a hidden, root-like network of invisible shelves and corridors winding through the foundation. This subterranean domain houses the memory menders, an elite unit deployed only when a mourner experiences a specific cognitive crisis, the sudden, terrifying inability to recall a loved one's laugh or the sound of their voice. When that panic sets in, the menders scramble through these archives, sorting through scattered cognitive fragments until they locate the precise missing memory. They then ferry that fragment up through the floorboards and quietly slip it back into the mourner's mind, retreating before their presence can be detected. This deep healing relies on absolute invisibility. The process only works if the human subject believes the memory organically returned on its own. As deep night finally transitions into pre-dawn, the most vital transmutation of the shift begins. This is when the goodbye fairies arrive. Their task requires them to harvest raw, invisible materials suspended in the chapel air. They gather the heavy accumulations of unspoken love, silent gratitude, and every goodbye that was too difficult to say aloud. They pull these glowing wisps of emotion down from the rafters, carefully creasing and folding the intangible weight into intricate paper birds. The flock is held in a holding pattern until the first rays of morning sun hit the chapel windows, triggering a synchronized vertical launch. The paper birds spiral upward and dissolve silently into the morning sky, taking the gathered weight with them as the parlor resets. When families arrive later that morning, they often note a subtle, unexplainable sense of relief. That weight is gone, because a massive, unseen workforce spent the night carrying it away.